because when it first originated, and that was many years ago, I would come every year and learn about the industry. And as much as now I'm running Sharp's B2B business, when Ed hired me, I only had 1 year experience in copiers. So poor Ed had to, 7 years in a row, every day at lunch, I would pick his brain and try to learn, the history of the business and, what was done before and, learn about what built the business. And I became more and more impressed, and you realize that it's not just a copier business, right? A ton of innovation in this business. And so when, Joe and Mike, he went to the dark side. I don't know, where's my comic of evil, sorry. He went to the dark side for 3 years. I said, you can't do ECS now. And when he brought it back, I said to him, whatever you do, we're in, we'll sponsor. It's a great learning experience for someone like me. And even all these years later, I come here and I learn a lot. I learn about the dealer community and what they're up to. And the dealers are really way more innovative, honestly, than the manufacturers. And so for someone like myself, this is a great opportunity. So as I talk today, I'm not going to try to tell you how to run your business. You know better than I do. But I do want to give a little perspective on what the OEMs are looking at, some of the challenges. It's Sharp. I don't speak for all OEMs, but I want to give you a little perspective of what we're thinking about. And first, lost my voice already. I look at today's market like a 3D chessboard. It is impossible to figure out what's going on, I'll be honest. As an OEM, we have the supply chain issues. I'll talk a little bit about that today. We have changing demographics, right? The industry is changing. The people we sell to are changing. The users of our product are changing. We have to be aware of how that impacts what we develop, how we market it, how we sell it. It's a dramatic shift in the business. Obviously, remote work was always coming. It was going to trickle in, as I said, the demographics changed, expectations changed. But obviously COVID wiped that off and dramatically shifted that. And so now you have a new print reality. What is the print business? What does it look like? How do we operate in it? What changes do we have to make? And then obviously the 800-pound gorilla in the room is the next two. Dealer consolidation. There are fewer dealers. Dealers are buying dealers. Private equity has entered the industry. There's a lot of private equity people buying up the business. That shifts a lot of thinking for OEMs of how we operate. And then finally, we got to consider what our competitors are doing. What are their directions? How do we compete against them? I was talking to someone the other night, and I said, when I assumed the job, I listed every competitor out, and I did like a SWOT analysis and said, whatever they're doing well, we're not even going to try. Because doing 80% of someone else's skill, I lose every time. So we kind of made our own direction in the industry of what we're going to do, what we're going to be good at. And then finally, when I look at the whole picture together, someone might say, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's a little difficult, right? And yet, for some strange reason, I've never been more optimistic about the industry. I see it as a gigantic opportunity. So much so that at Sharp, last year I told you we named our year, the theme of our year was opportunity. It's still opportunity. 2 years in a row. We're very creative at Sharp. But what's key, and I'm going to come back to this over and over in the presentation, is this logo of the puzzle pieces. And I think that is, if there's one thing that I can impress upon you today, is think of your business as a puzzle. You can't go chasing a shiny object without all the other pieces. You can't finish a puzzle unless you have all the pieces together, right? And I noticed they come as, a heretic type conversation, but sometimes, believe it or not, you can go a different path than the OEM you've been working with. I don't mean drop your OEM. I just mean your strategy does not have to tie directly to the strategy of the OEM. The strategy of the OEM oftentimes can be dictated by who we are, right? Now, I'll be honest when we get to the Sharp stuff. It can be dictated by how much of our business is direct versus indirect through dealers. If you're in direct operation, you can go into businesses that a dealer can't go into. So it does dictate those things. So I do look at it, though, with all the upheaval, with all the changes, as a tremendous level of opportunity. Now, one thing I do know, and one of my biggest frustrations, if you just heard me say the name of our theme of our company this year and last year is opportunity, the one thing I hate is buzzwords. I can assure you that all of the industry's challenges will not be solved by cute buzzwords. And they're so common in our industry, right? We're going to transform this, we're going to innovate that, we're going to dramatically impact that. Yeah, I'm still not going to get talking. Thank you. But I do think that we too often go, oh, let's transform this, or we're going to innovate that. And you know what? A lot of times it comes down to hard work. It comes down to execution, right? So again, in the infinite creative wisdom of Sharp, we have a dealer meeting in 90 days. You know what our theme of our meeting is? Opportunity meets execution. Pretty damn boring, right? But that's how business works. You got to execute, right? You got to, no matter what your ideas are, you better be able to execute against them. So internally, this is a slide that goes up at every Sharp meeting. This is ours. At the end, I'll maybe posit for you what might yours be. But we look at the business and say we have a lot of hardware products. Sharp is unique in the industry in the sense of our direction, right? And again, I'm not here to say one's better than the other. I'm just saying this is ours. We make products, right? We're owned by Foxconn, which is the world's largest manufacturer of products, right? So guess what our focus would be? Making products. And we have the copiers. We bought Toshiba's Dynabook laptop division a few years back, big part of our business now. We have displays. We just bought NEC Display about 2.5 years ago. We're now merging that into our business. We have our printers and we have collaboration displays. So we have hardware, right? But honestly, that's irrelevant, right? Why would you buy a Sharp copier and a Sharp desktop display? Does it really matter, right? Unless there's something supporting that, right? That's the other puzzle pieces. It's how do we leverage our existing investments? I would encourage everyone, money's tight, right? Interest rates are higher now, it's harder to borrow money. What can you build upon and build upon and build upon? What money did you spend 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago that you can leverage and further develop your business? People and relationships are still very important in this industry. Not only your own people, but getting to know your customers' people, right? Getting closer to your customers' people. I'll spend some time on that. And a diversified product offering, whether it be hardware or it be a mix of software, services, MPS, other solutions, I don't care. You can't just be a copier company anymore. And then operational efficiencies, right? Right before COVID hit, we went down a path to automate a lot of our process. Now more of a buzzword, robotic process automation, RPA. We did that in 2018-19. Most of our back office is now done that way. And so COVID hit. We didn't miss a beat because our people, it was kind of just automated. Bots were working away. We didn't have to do anything, right? But I heard the other day, in the first day, there was talk about you better have your processes in mind before you do that, right? Automating something that's bad just makes it worse. So, again, get your processes in order, get your people in order, understand that, but leverage those efficiencies. And finally, our role in supporting the dealers is technical knowledge, understanding our products, understanding where the industry's going, and understanding how that all comes together for you and fits in your strategy. So, the biggest topic for the last year for all OEMs, and a topic that at Sharp we love to talk about, is supply chain. And we fared pretty well. Last year, I put up this slide on the right, this green box thing, and I shared what we were sharing with our dealers, right? This is I know John Sheen's in the back. I cannot believe you just shared the most up-to-date product availability chart. This is what we just sent to our dealers a week ago. Nothing our competitors can do about it because it's all green anyway. But what we're doing is in July of 2021, we started sending this to our dealers. We started saying, hey, you need to know, right, what's happening with the product. And two things at the time. One is every one of our competitors said, by the fall, it'll be okay. That was in 2021. Okay, by the fall, it's gonna be okay. And our team would come back and go, no, everyone's saying it's gonna be okay in the fall. I'm like, don't worry, it won't be. We went through it really well. But what we did is, I think every manufacturer owes it to their customers to have complete clarity about what's available, right, down to the bottom. So we put out this chart, and basically color coding, means green means at the end of the month, we have enough product in our warehouse for a whole other month's sales. Yellow means that we have half a month, I think, yellow means half a month, orange means we have enough in inventory to about half a month, and red means we'll run out but have enough in the first 2 weeks of the following month, and black means we got a problem, okay? So what did this do? And this is why communication is critical. Every dealer took the information and said, well, here's what we're gonna do. Anything that Sharp shows as yellow or orange, we're gonna tell our salespeople not to sell the green stuff. Well, our orange never became red, Our yellows never became orange, and our greens became yellow, but we never ran out. We let the dealers decide what was best for them. But I know everyone's saying that the chip shortage is over, there's no issues, no breaks. I want to kind of separate the topics. First, logistics part of supply chain. I think that's solved, right? I think imports have caught up. I think one of the things we're seeing is during that period, there was over construction of warehouses. One of the big problems on the West Coast was product would come in. There was not enough warehouses on the West Coast to put the product in. So it just stayed on the port, right? And then everything backed up over in the port. Now you leave the ships out to sea. That's caught up. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think we're seeing, better and better results there. The chip availability right now, right? Everybody, to a person, I don't even have to ask, right? You saw end of November through December, suddenly all kinds of products showed up, right? Well, that was because in May and June, we had inflation approaching 9%. Every one of the consumer electronics companies cut back on production and said, Christmas is not, that's when we build the Christmas products, so it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna be as robust as it was. And so suddenly everyone just moved the production, right? So it changed things. But the fundamentals underlying the problem is still there. And anyone who knows technology, and I know we had some Intel people here yesterday, and they're like looking at some of the numbers I have up here and say, 130 nanometer chip is like year 2000, right? Well, guess what? Guess what your copiers are running on? The year 2000 technology, right? Those are the biggest problem all of us face in the industry was a power sensor, so to speak, right? It's a dollar chip. Nobody is building $1 billion factory to sell a sub $1 chip or sensor, right? So it's old technology. Until people ramp up production and change, that won't change. So there is going to be some challenges. So when will the availability improve? I don't know. I know for the next couple of months it's good because the recession fears and things like that have impacted production on other type technologies. But last year I put this chart up and I shared with you what our industry represents in chip usage, just for a couple of categories to give you perspective. And you can see, we're that little group on the right there, right? So it's a trickle down of chips, it's a trickle down of technology of chips. And so as availability improved, it starts going to car manufacturers, right? I was talking to someone last night who just bought a car. I was very pleased because Sharp makes the dashboard for that car. And they said, they asked the question about how many chips are in the car. And it was 1,000. And I checked in, it is 1,000 chips. So I said, well, how many cars are made in the US? Well, it's about 90 million a year. Okay. 90 million cars. So that's 1 billion chips just in the car industry. We got like 2 million printers and 800,000, 600,000 MFPs. Three things getting the chips, not just cars, right? You heard yesterday about edge computing, right? All that data coming in, right? Where do you think it's coming from? It's coming from a sensor. Huge business. Later I'll talk about Amazon. They now literally have a sensor on every conveyor belt in their warehouses. Every single engine that's been in a conveyor belt, okay? So they can do preventive maintenance. So there's AI, right? You talk AI, what's the next step? This is why I always say puzzle pieces. What's the next piece of the puzzle? You better have a chip for it. Someone's got to collect that data. So it takes a while to build up that production. So if there's a recession, which none of us wants, we'll have availability. If the economy rebounds quickly, we're going to see a second wave. And I know I'm a counter view on this, but I hope that 2 years of speaking on this topic and being able to provide, we provided during this period. We did 1 month in July of 2022 below our 2019 production levels. Every other month for the last 2 years, we've been above 10% to 20% of our 2019 levels. So we've been able to navigate this. And it's by using this thinking and using this understanding. So when will it fix? First thing, as OEMs introduce new products, they have to change their boards, right? They have to have new technology. That's what we call clean sheet design. So if you're a Sharp dealer, I don't know what the other competitors call it, but we always say, we have model and we call it, 5.0, right? So that's what we just introduced. When you have a point something, that means we just changed firmware and one or two of those things. A clean sheet design allows you to put completely new boards in. But as you saw in the supply chain crisis, we all use very similar boards. So a lot of people talk about, oh, we make product in Vietnam and Thailand, Sharp does in Thailand also, and China won't affect us when we can produce it over there. Like, the board is made in the Shanghai area. You're not getting a board. You can run your factory, everyone can show up for work, but the board you need is not coming to that factory, right? As I go back to the size of the industry, the scope of the industry, smaller companies are supporting this industry on the board side. We're fortunate we have Foxconn. Sometimes they are able to adjust boards. I don't want to get into all that, but that will change things. And I already talked about the AI impact. So, I think that probably through the spring, everything will be okay with chips. And it just looks at how the economy is. It's, our production is about 4 to 5 months before you see it in the market. So as of today, no big issues, right? So just tack on your 4 or 5 months there. And I think industry-wide, we're going to be fine. It's just what happens in the second wave. So I want to talk a little bit about industry shifts and what's happening in the industry. And so, as I said before, I'm probably less knowledgeable about copiers than pretty much everyone in this room. But we do focus on what is the larger issues, right? What are the other dynamics that are impacting it? And served us well. Not thinking purely copier, a lot of really good copier people in our company, but thinking about what is outside that. So first, the remote working demographic shifts are obvious, right? So much has changed. But is the pendulum, swinging back, right? Are people going back to work? I'll talk about that in a second. We talk about Gen Z and the millennials all the time, right? I'll pick on them in a minute. But everyone says they're different. And I say they're different, but it could be really good for our business and how they're different. I'll talk about that. Channel consolidation, not going to talk about that. Too many customers in the room. But, obviously, you can see it changing in the dynamics in the industry. I won't talk about what I see as success, no matter how you do it. But obviously, you have mega dealers, you have regional mega dealers, you have national mega dealers, you have local dealers. It's all over the place right now. And then when I look at it, I say, well, you can look at it as negative, or you can look at it as how does all this play out to our benefit? And those are the things I like to talk about. So first, I do think the pendulum's swinging back, right? I highlighted these. These are the last 3 weeks. A couple of major companies that during, I'd say the fall of 2020 into 2021, swore, led interviews, talked about it. We never see our people going back to the office, right? On every news program, and then as we all experienced, all our employees said, see, Google's not coming back, why does Sharp? I'm like, well, because we sell office technology, so if we don't come back, no one's buying our products. Everyone does that. But you can see, right, Disney, right, taking everyone back. Starbucks, taking everything back. Apple, bringing everyone back into the office. And then everyone knows about Tesla and all their businesses. So you're beginning to see people come back. We're beginning to see prints. You know better than I do what your print level is. I can say at Sharp every single week, our print numbers are coming up, right? They're not where they were. But what's very interesting is we always forget it's 3 years since 2019, really, right? So there's always a projection of the business slowly declining on print. We're kind of at that line. It really hasn't altered that line. It's accelerated a period. It's like a step instead of a ramp. But we're very close to what the projections were several years ago. So I think that's gonna really help our business. We're gonna start getting some of those prints back. But as I go around the country and I visit dealers, I see really 3 distinct approaches right now in the marketplace. And I'm not voting for what is the best. I would say execute against what you do. But one is very focused on the print, CPC, NPS, and your existing customers. Kind of a local focus, right? Kind of just what the industry's always been. Focus on the customers, do document workflow, local market type things. Then we're seeing what I would call national NPS strategies, where companies are saying, we want to cover all of our customers around the country ourselves. We want to be very aggressive going to enterprise major accounts and have a comprehensive program on NPS. You start seeing a transition away from the manufacturers here, right? If you look at that little circle, I'd say the stuff from whatever it is, maybe 4 o'clock to the 10 o'clock position is things the OEM can do, right? Authentication, print release, security on the device, things like that. The other things from 11 o'clock to 3, those are technologies that really other suppliers, many of whom are in the room, provide to you, right? So it's a different approach. but it allows for you to cover accounts that are based in your territory and cover them everywhere. And I'm seeing a lot more of that. I'm seeing amazing execution on that kind of strategy. And then the third is a full service technology provider. So those are the companies, and this is, I'll be honest, this is kind of where Sharp is leaning for our business and our direct operations, is servicing your customer across all technology platforms, with the ultimate goal of putting it all under subscription, hiding the print, right, and making some money and not competing on price, right? This is kind of where we're going as a company, but as an OEM who sells 80% of our units through a dealer channel, we have to support all three. We have to develop technologies and support in all three areas. But I will argue that diversification is absolutely critical. If you're a Sharp dealer, you saw this next slide. I shared it every road show. We just completed National Road Show. And what we're seeing on the I'm gonna get my perspective here on the left side of the slide. If you think of our dealer revenue in groups of thirds, right? Our biggest third, our middle third, and small third dealers. You can see the gap between the red are dealers that are only buying our copiers. The gray are dealers that buy more than just our copiers. They're buying Dynabooks, they're buying our displays. The revenue disparity is gigantic, right? They are, not only are we getting a lot more revenue from those people, but they're growing at a much faster pace. When they break it out, it's over 3 times the growth rate of the ones only buying copiers. And then as you can see, it gets smaller in the middle third and almost even at the bottom third. And then on the right side is the number of dealers in those mix. And so what jumps out at you is that the bigger dealers are able to make those investments and getting into those other technologies. They're embracing it and they're growing faster. The smaller dealers are having a tough time getting into those technologies and building those things. So it's incumbent on the OEM to figure out a way to support the smaller dealers in getting them along that path. But it is overwhelmingly clear that the dealers who are trying new things, trying new technologies, and this is just Sharp because I have the data, right? We also have a very large spreadsheet that I asked every one of our TBMs, our territory business managers, to outline for every one of our dealers. Are they selling other things? Are they diversified? Are they into new areas? Just so we can start gauging those types of models, right? I don't care if you don't do the business with us, but I do believe you got to get into new areas. So I think that the market and what we provide is moving towards that, right? Becoming total solution providers. And I want to get very specific in a few minutes. But the other big part that's impacting the industry and has everyone worried is, oh, now notice is what you're 50 of print is going away. Right? Now, everyone talks about millennials and the younger generation, and they don't use print, and their buying habits are different, things are different. Well, I don't know. We think that, but then you dig into the data. So I think that the next generation is aligned for change. We just have to adapt to them. We have to adjust our thinking. So I want to share a little bit of demographics. I kind of look at this all the time because first, we always say, well, who we're selling to is changing, who uses our product is changing, right? And then what they want for our product is changing. That's kind of the assumptions. And in some cases, I'm going to debunk those. So first, on the left, you can see what we all know, right? The millennials, Gen Y, right? They're taking over. Right? They're becoming the largest part of the workforce. They crossed over being half the workforce. So quite honestly, if I look around the room, most of the people who use our product is not in the room right now. Right? And we have to be aware of that. And we have to develop our people and have to put younger people in leadership roles to help define what's needed. On the upper right is what I call the decision makers. I'll never forget this. It was many years ago. I was having lunch with the former CEO of Marco, Jeff Dow, and he was wearing a very cool shirt. And I said, "Man, kind of funky look for a guy your age." And he said to me, he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I always go out on buddy calls." He goes, "I sit back. I'm just evaluating my rep, and I'm watching, and my rep is talking. He's aimed right at what he thinks is a decision maker, that distinguished, senior executive, the gray hair, and the whole bit, right? And I'm watching that guy." And he's looking at a 27-year-old in the corner and waiting for affirmation from that person. And he goes, "I realized the 27-year-old in the corner is the one doing the evaluation of who we go with. The executive already decided to spend the money. They just haven't decided where. They're waiting for the evaluation, right? How many people in your organization think that way, right? When you drop off a demo unit, when you do a demo, Are you talking? Does the president of the company, the SVP of the company come by themselves? Or do they bring a more tech-savvy, what I would call younger person, right, with them in that meeting? That's your audience, right? So I kind of circle that saying, that group, circle, is really the decision makers for our product, of who buys it. The ones who cut the check, that's the one in the green, right? Yeah, they're gonna cut the check. But the decision makers are those other people. And so we have to start thinking how they think, how they want to buy products, what they're looking for in a product. And then finally, I was glad, we had, the women leadership information before, because look at that bottom slide, okay? So, Melanie Patterson mentioned, we started the WISE program at Sharp several years ago. It's the right thing to do, but it's also the smartest business thing to do, right? Look at the number of college graduates. Who's coming out? Who's the educated workforce? Who's the knowledge worker? It's shifted. Okay, females are now the leading college graduate, and so for a while. So if you follow that curve and you see that about 10, 15, 20 years ago, it started flipping over to more females graduating college than males, right? Then they're now in that blue group, making those decisions, doing the evaluations, deciding our future. Not having them involved in how you're driving your business and how you're selling is crazy, right? You would never do that if you consciously said, here's what we're gonna do. We have a strategy that says, we're gonna sell to this group, and we're gonna have the opposite group define what that group needs, right? You'd never do that consciously, but we're subconsciously doing that. And so it's critical that we think like they think. And the best way to do that is have the person do it themselves. And so that's one of the reasons why we created WISE, was to start elevating, female executives to help us define a strategy. So if you saw Melanie's title, I don't know, you hear it somewhere, I saw you this morning. She told me, we have a joke, before any of us speak, I say to my people, don't F up before I go up. So she grabbed me before I came up and said, don't. So, what was her title? Strategy for our direct branches, right? Because it's changing. So it's very important. So we talk about that. We talk about the new generation, younger generation. I call them the participation trophy generation, right? And we all kind of laugh about it. And we say, everyone gets a trophy when they participate. We used to have to actually win, right? And they're very tech savvy. They're into social media. They're into influencers, right? This is a thing that didn't exist. When I grew up, you had a professional football player, baseball player do an ad. You go, I don't know, Joe DiMaggio thinks this coffee maker's good. I guess I should buy it, right? Now there's influencers on YouTube. It is an industry. These people make millions of dollars, okay? I'm watching I was with my kids the other night, and I'm watching on ESPN, they had women's gymnastics, okay? On ESPN, never saw that before. I said, wow, that's great, And my daughter goes, well, Olivia Dunn's on LSU. I go, okay, well, first of all, I don't know who Olivia Dunn is. Right? And I didn't know she even knew anything about it. And I'm like, well, who's Olivia Dunn? Oh, Dad, she has like 5 million followers on TikTok and Instagram and this and that. She makes $2 million a year in NIL contracts. I go, holy cow, right? Just contracts for all the different gymnastics outfits and fashion, things like that, right? They're influencers. That's different than what we understood. So we focus a lot on what's different, but I want to kind of jump to what's the same, right? So I'm not going to go, this is like 50 charts that would back this up. But, Ed McLaughlin, thank you very much. So I said that every day I would have lunch with Ed. This is Ed's line to me all the time. What is old is forever new, right? This is surprising, right? This is consumer buying behavior, right? So sometimes, we ask the question, do you like this or do you like that? And you get high scores. And so it's a C, they love doing this, they love doing that. But when you ask across the whole gamut, how do you buy? This is interesting. Look at what I would call, most of the people in the room is kind of on the orange side, but quality of product weighs heavier on millennials, and I forget what the middle group is, kind of Gen X like myself. Who would have thought that millennials, now Gen Y is that lower group, they're not quite there yet on the quality thing, but who would have thought that they're basically like everybody else, if not more conscious of quality of product or quality of service, their expectation level, right? These are people that grew up with devices that give them what they want, when they want it, at any point. they cannot comprehend why service can't be that way, right? Why you can't fix the copier or keep the network up the same way. The next one is price, right? Almost exactly across the same all generations. So too often we focus on what's different. Really, the only place that you really see a difference, and I'm gonna come back to it, is the second one from the end. Where that's, I know you can't read the print, but I know they're gonna send it all out to you. Where that is, do you make a social contribution? Do you give money to nonprofits and things like that? There's a lot more awareness in Gen Y and millennials than in other groups, right? But as you can see, it's not the overriding factor, but you do need to be conscious of it. You need to be aware of it. So I stole this and then I realized that I forgot to do the attribution. So before we send this out, I'll add the attribution. But you know, this is the characteristics. I'm not going to go through every one of these, but I did want to highlight some things where sometimes you misinterpret stuff, right? So if you look at, you know, Gen X and Gen Y, and the first one is their work ethic, right? Really, you know, they talk about eliminating tasks, self-taught, right? They want to kind of have direction. They're skeptical about things. Kind of similar, multitasking on Gen Y, right? What does that mean? That means that they're flexible, they're open to change, and they multitask. If you really translate what those mean in business. Isn't that a great customer to call on when you try to sell new technologies? Isn't that a great one? So on the left, you got people who are kind of rigid, right? They view the copier guy as the copier guy. These people say, people should be everything. People should cross over. Boundaries shouldn't matter. So as you go in, you can approach your sales process and say, actually, there's a receptive audience on the other end if we target it correctly and understand what they're doing. You go down, I just want to drop down, you know, rewards and feedback, right? Communication is expected. What's the cornerstone of how we build our business once we have a customer? The QBR, right? Well, this is an audience, the other side, older generations and previous generations, they viewed things like, well, you're going to tell us what to do, kind of one-way communication, right? This generation, go back to the trophy, participation, everyone in it together, right? They want to work with you. They want to understand how we can get better. They want to use the QBR not to get an update on the cost and how much money they spend, but it's a great time to pitch new products. I'm going to come back to that at the end. So they're open to things that maybe we hadn't thought about before. Maybe we need to take the traditional QBR and use it as a sales effort, right? Quickly cover the basics and move on to what else you offer because you're talking to a receptive audience. You know, there are other activity-based strategies, right? What are they motivated? They're motivated by being involved. Again, isn't it great to have a customer that says, I want to be involved, right? I want to talk to you about the technology. When you manage your employees, they want to be involved, right? That's actually a good thing. Earlier I said we need to understand how they sell, we need to understand how they think, we need to understand what motivates them. And then we learned that a characteristic of their personality is they want to be involved, right? Really easy to get them involved in those processes. And then the last part is how they view technology. And this is most interesting. I laugh, baby boomers think technology is a microwave, which may be true. But look at those last pieces, right? Even, you know, Gen X, they look at like they've grown up only with PDAs, only with cell phones, only with technology available at all times. Gen Y views technology as it just is, right? Everything is technology. It's just part of how you live your life. Again, as you go in to sell product to these generations, there is a receptive audience. The ability to have your customers see all of the offerings is what they expect. You're a technology provider. The fact you provide a bunch of different technologies makes sense to them, right? You're not the copier company. You're a technology company. They're open to it. So I look at all these things and I come back to my puzzle. And I say, this is how you compete. You go into those customers and say, not only can we provide all your technology, but we're going to provide all the services. We're going to support you in all those different ways. We're going to give you what you need to make your business better. And you're going to participate in that discussion of how we're going to do it. You're going to work with us in how we're going to do it. And so I go back, you know, that my first slide of how we handled the supply chain crisis, right? What was the first thing I said? We told the dealers what our problem was. And we asked them to help us solve it. And they did, right? If I hid what was going on, they would have kept selling the stuff I was running out and getting madder and madder at me, and I'd be backed up on inventory of stuff I didn't have. But I said, let's work on this together. Here's the information. Let's work on it together. And they managed it for us. They helped us, right? And so I think that kind of thinking, leverage your customer, let them help you get the business. So again, I joke, oldest slide in my portfolio. If you've ever seen me talk, you've seen this slide, right? We are still in the support business of how you view information, right? And this is Sharp's core ability. If you view our business as paper and not as what the paper does, the sharing of information, then you're viewing it wrong. The only reason you need a copy, the only reason someone needs to print out a page and share it is because somebody else needs that information. That's why they do it. So yes, it's more and more behind glass, whether it be desktop displays, collaboration displays in a conference room, a laptop. Sharp does sell those products. You can buy them from other people. We're not really a supplier. We're the best. But I think that we got to view the industry that way. But what is the key ingredient, right? It's that we support those products, right? We provide safety to them, security to them, that product is going to work. The most valuable asset this industry has is our field service organization, and we take it for granted. I remember 20 years ago, my brother-in-law, he's an MSP in New York, and he comes in my house and he saw a Dell computer. He blew a gasket. And he says, I gotta watch my F-bombs here, but he said, let me see effing Michael Dell come to your house and fix your product, right? And he's right. The product eventually had a problem, and I sat there for 30 minutes, so I'm the whole time waiting for support, right? But if that product was under a contract, and a service contract from a technology provider like yourselves, I would have called the number. Someone, you open up your response times, you open up your data, you know exactly how quick you answer the phone. And so it said, someone will be there at this time to fix it, right? It'd be my obligation to make sure someone's there. But that's what we provide, okay? It's not fancy, it's not an elaborate buzzword, but it is security. It is knowing that the technology we bought is being supported. And that is the golden ticket in our industry. So when I look at it, there's all new opportunities to support customers, right? So traditionally we're in the office, right? And I love this phrase, workplace managed services, right? It's how do you go into an office and provide all of their technology needs? And for Sharp, I call it customer-facing technology, right? We're able to provide, we're not there yet to provide servers and managed servers and things like that. That's not what we're there yet. But we are exceptionally capable of doing network support, right? Think about all of your service techs. They got to connect the product to the network. Why can't they put up a router? Right? They can connect the router. Why can't they connect the router itself? Very simple. Why can't they manage that? Why can't you put that on a subscription basis and say, we'll manage all your technology and keep it up and running and use partners to manage the security and manage the monitoring and things like that, but we come in and do the fix. Huge opportunity. The second phase, the next wave, is people working remotely. We all went home in March, or I guess March, April of 2020 and worked remotely. If you lived in New York, and I've told this story to many people, over the years, but I would walk up and down my street, my family threw me out of the house, and I would put on my earbuds, walk up and down the street, talk to dealers. And as I walk up and down the street, I go from driveway to driveway and past that, there's the Epson box. Got the Epson box there, the inkjet printer, got the Canon, the HP, right? And I'm like, I work for Sharp, this is killing me. What it was telling me is that everyone was making a home office, okay? And everyone rushed to make a home office. And it surprised me, because I thought everyone would have a printer in their house, right? I bet, just because of what I do, I always have a printer in my house. But now companies go, okay, we got the place running. Then a year passes, they go, oh my God, we have no idea what our fleet looks like. We have no idea who's managing this. And I was talking to a dealer one day, and we were talking about hackers and security. I go, yeah, everyone's got their offices locked down. Meanwhile, I'm on a network that my son has given every kid that goes to his elementary school the password to our Wi-Fi. Is that really logical? And then I realized, we're talking about it, and they said, the other part is I live in a relatively new neighborhood. Everyone on our street has Verizon Fios, Verizon's, whatever internet service, TV service. That means everyone on our block had the same exact router, right? The one Verizon provided. Think about how easy we just made it for a hacker. We told them exactly the device they were hacking into. It's like you put a sign on the front lawn. Hey, if you know how to hack into this, come here, right? Well, companies are afraid of that, right? How do we go into our accounts and go, hey, let's revisit that now? Do you know we can provide security for your people remotely when they're home, right? We will give you a router and it can be dedicated. The person, you set it up in your office, you gotta go to their home. Set up in the office, ship it out, right? There's actually all the IT distributors can do this for you. And then ship it to their home and they just plug it in, it runs. And now you've got a new business. Now you put that under an M&S contract. Now you've got one employee, 2 M&S contracts. Pretty good business model, right? So we gotta start thinking those opportunities. We also gotta start thinking about the business opportunity, right? Aftermarket hardware. So, our traditional business is bold, right? Where, we say, oh, here's a couple printers, here's a couple copiers, and we put a maintenance contract on it. The hardware itself is only worth about $60,000, right, in GP. But then you start layering in the fact that we're going to provide you Microsoft 365. We're going to monitor your devices. We're going to put under an MPS contract. We're going to do all these things. Very quickly, it comes to a $429,000 deal. This is not an imaginary deal. This is actually one of our direct operations deal, right? And they just slowly built it up. They built it up. They built it up, and now they have the whole thing. So what was once, maybe $100,000, $110,000, $120,000 contract is now a $400,000 contract. I told some people the other day, and anyone at our road show heard us tell this story. We were doing a QBR. I go back to the QBR, and it's 2021. One of our SBS people are doing a QBR with a customer, a sub, about $700,000 customer for MPS. And they're doing a QBR. At the end of the meeting, we asked everyone, just go through all our other categories. And they said, well, we want to also talk about Dynabook, our laptop business. And the customer says, well, great. When you get some, send them, we'll evaluate them. And she goes, well, no, I have them. I can send it to you. This is actually one of all these people. And so, why? We have it. We sent one in. Within 2 months, we had sold 1,000 notebooks to a group within this company, right? Well, then that group was the only group in a much larger organization of laptops. We got laptops. As of now, we've sold $6 million worth of laptops due to the final, say, minute and a half of a QBR, okay? Do you think, now I love copiers, right? Laptop, no one's working without a laptop. Or you can kind of get through the day. Both are bought by the same IT manager, and we made that IT manager a rock star by getting laptops. Do you think we're ever going to lose that print business? We're never going to lose that print business because we saved them, right? So that's critical for how you look at the business, drive them. So I want to quickly kind of talk about how you're moving. This is I shared this, but as the business moves, we are the copier company. We got to work our way up the scale, right? We got to work our way up the business. You do that by offering incremental services, going from a copier company to all the way up to managed network services and backup data recovery. That's a leap. Start selling intermediary products. Start selling the intermediary products that can help get that credibility. That when you say you want to back up all your data, do data recovery and manage intrusions, everyone goes, yeah, you can do that. Right? So what I want to throw out to you as I close up is, what is your core puzzle piece, right? What are you basing your business around? And so I'm going to throw out 3 examples of people that I kind of look at. Like I said, I'm not a background copier person, so I can't out-copier my competitors, right? Most of my peers grew up in copiers, they know way better than me. So I kind of look outside the industry for inspiration. First one, Steve Jobs, right? And what he said is, get so close to your customer, you understand what they need before they know that they need it, right? Understand how that works. Well, what is it that Apple does? I mean, you can talk for hours about Apple. It's not complicated what they do. They make things simple, right? Since the beginning, they made things simple. They had a closed ecosystem in the beginning, now they have a broader ecosystem. Even their packaging, they reinforce that message every day. We are simple to work with, right? You get an Apple product, and it's a white box, always clean, right? Symbolizes simplicity and cleanliness, right? And there's no instructions. Instructions like hidden. It's like, no, you turn the thing on, it works. Great message, right? Gets loyalty. Then they have this ecosystem where they're at the center with their hardware, and they keep selling, right? And You know, as you heard some controversies, right? 30% cut on everything sold in the Apple store. Awesome business model. But it started with making things simple for the customer, making technology simple. Well, we have that ability too. We have data everywhere. This is our MICAS screen, whatever MPS type program you use. MICAS is our self-grown system. And there's a lot of data in there, okay? But I want to show you, we use this data, right? I get a monthly report of all the functions that we use on our product across all of our network every month. Supply chain. I know many of our competitors tell me all the time we were lucky. Well, here's one of the things we did, MICAS. The arrow points to the fact that this device is connected to a Wi-Fi network, okay? We ran all of our direct operations data, and we said, wait a second, a very small percentage of our products are directly connected, not cable, but Wi-Fi connected to a network. You can still use it Wi-Fi in your device by connecting to the company network, but the device itself wasn't purely Wi-Fi connected. So what do? What I said earlier, wireless chips, they were in short supply, that's why we went backward. So for a 6-month period, we sold products without wireless standard. If you needed to get it as an option, right? Factory line just kept on producing, right? Using data to understand how your customers are using product got us through a big supply chain crisis. And a little inconvenient, I apologize to sharp dealers when we call them yes models for a period of time. It was like a 6-month period that we said, we're just not gonna sell with wireless, we're gonna introduce the next generation product. Slightly inconvenient, but you had product through the whole period, using customer information. The next one I love, and I did 2 pictures of the same quote because of the consistency. You got nerdy Jeff Bezos, right? On the left, you got buff, cool, richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos on the right. But what does he say? Obsession with the customer, right? That is what Amazon does. They are obsessed with the customer's buying habits, okay? I'm gonna quickly go through this. The other day, I guess a month ago now, right, we saw Alexa, right? $10 billion, we lose $10 billion on Alexa, okay? Article comes out, 2 weeks later, I see Alexa on Amazon for one of their devices, the Dot, I think it was, for like $19 and only $49. I go, okay, well, let me get this straight. You're losing $10 billion, but you just discounted it $30, right? What is that? And really what it is they were using it for the customer data, right? Imagine being in your customer 24/7. Imagine being in your customers every meeting and knowing what they're talking about, knowing what their future strategies. Alexa's listening, right? You've all experienced it. You had a conversation in a room, you're talking in your kitchen one day, the next day you see 45 ads for that topic, right? Alexa's listening. And they're using that data, they're aggregating that data. That is valuable insight. You have that data yourself, okay? Every single install you've ever done for your business, you collect all the company information about their network. You connect who's the contact, who the lead person is, who the decision makers are, if there's a problem, who to call, right? Well, this is the old version of the Sharp one. There's a new version. We added a box. We have our people now ask, and I wish I had 100% compliance, I don't, what is the laptops you're using, how many conference rooms do they have, so that over time, we go back in and we use our customer service people when they walk them through a bill or issues like that. Oh, by the way, we noticed that you have 5 conference rooms with old projectors. You should consider this product and you'd be interested, or you have old laptops, or we did the install and we had problems with drivers because you have old versions of Microsoft. You have an opportunity to collect that data. And then the last person, this is just more fun. If you're a Sharp dealer, you know this person. Our top dealer trip is to Richard Branson's private island, Necker Island, every year. And we've all gotten to know him, very interesting guy. But he lives this, right? Fun in a business. Make an experience, right? Think about the businesses that the Virgin Group is in. Can you think of more boring businesses? Trains, planes, right? Hotels, and now cruise ships, right? What does he do? He takes care of his employees, so the employees take care of their customers in unimaginable ways, right? Even their cruise ship, he said, to provide the right experience, no children. Because if you have children, you have to have a kind of a blended environment, right? You gotta kind of neutralize how much fun people can have. Take the kids out, you can have a lot of fun on the ship, right? So they said, we're gonna forego that market to dominate this market, right? How often do we do that? So as I wrap it up, I just want to say, I think everyone needs to think about how to put their puzzle pieces together. I'm always impressed. I walk into dealerships, and you can quickly, in the best dealerships, you can quickly get the vibe of what that company is about, right? It's very clear from the minute you walk in the door, all the way through, to kind of how you walk around the building, how things are set up, how employees talk, right? You need to think about what is your core thing. It doesn't have to be sharp. You do have to buy our printers and copies, but not a requirement. But in the rest, I'm open-minded. But I think everybody, if there's one thing I can ask you walk away with from hopefully what I can contribute today, is think of your business as a puzzle piece. Your business is not complete until the puzzle's complete. You have all the pieces in place, and they are interrelated, and you got to think your business that way. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Hopefully I can do this.